All right, welcome back to another episode of Oak and Rock Fatherhood. I am your host, Anthony Miglerino, along with Zach Small. And today's topic, we're going to talk about how you can reignite the passion in your relationship after a baby. And this is something that is so important to not lose yourself in becoming a parent, where we see that the family unit gets stronger, where we can be able to love openly, freely, and even better our wives. Our wives can love us, and we can create ultimately the best family possible. What's going on, Zach? How are we doing today?
What's up, brother? How you doing? That was a great intro.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, what do you got for me today? Let's get into this topic.
All right, dude. So
This
when I'm
is
looking at this, it is an interesting thing. As we were talking prior to this, going over notes and whatnot, it struck me that parents, when you have a child, especially your first child, you've never had anybody pull the priority away from one another. You've never you've had your wife or your lady or whatever it is, and she's had you, and you were each other's thing, and you did your job, you lived your lives, you had your friends, you had your hobbies, and you came together, and you talked about each other's day and what you're doing and what your goals were, whatever, and that was life, and that's how that worked. And then you had a baby, and that changes everything. You literally bring a life into the world, and now your priorities shift. And now things change. Now your schedule shift. Now your hobbies shift. And all the things that you were doing, they're different. Whether planned or not, your life has changed forever when you bring a child into the mix. And for many relationships, they never broke out of that. That shift to the kid, it took the light off each other and the passion that was there, the romance, the love, the mystique between the two, the polarity that sort of drew them together, that goes away. And I want to talk about how we can get back into this. And I think you and I, we can break it down really well because we've had to bring ourselves multiple times from having the kid to going back to maintaining our relationship. And again, it's important that parents realize you're modeling what a healthy relationship is to your children. So if you're not including the romance, if you're not including, the appropriate PDA where you're flirting with each other and you've got that dynamic going on, your children don't know what to look for. So they're looking at what you're giving them. And if you don't have any passion, well, they don't know what that means in a relationship when they start dating. So it's important that we model it appropriately, and it's important that we show them what a healthy marriage looks like, a healthy relationship between a man and woman looks like. And to you.
and to me, I'm back. All right, Wi-Fi I just got to boost the Wi-Fi. We're good. Yeah, no, it is. It's so important, and we do lose ourselves in this, right? We forget that one of the goals of being a parent, obviously, being a good father, is a lot of what we talk about, right? Peaceful parenting, being a good leader, but we also have a duty to show our kids what a healthy, loving, intimate relationship with their mother is supposed to be like. Being affectionate, being kind. It's not always just about being in charge or being the leader, but it's about what we're building. And I think we lose that a lot of times when kids come into the mix. When you become a new dad, I talk to a lot of new fathers, and they are so worried about messing up being a dad that sometimes they forget how to be a good husband. And it is very important to be able to show your kids that you love their mom, right? That you have closeness and connection with your wife, with their mother. It is the building blocks of a healthy family. It's the building blocks of a healthy relationship, and we can't overlook it, right? We can't put it to the side, and we can't say it's not important, because ultimately, what we model, we want our kids to build relationships with their spouse the same way, and we better hope, or we better be damn sure that we're setting a good example, right? We're showing our kids what that healthy relationship looks like. And I think, um, when you let's say you have a newborn babies are tough. I haven't had a newborn in a long time. It's been 15 years, but being able to have a child, have a newborn baby, and they are very demanding, right? They need to be fed. They need to sleep a lot. They need to be diapers changed. They need to be burped. They cry a lot. So it does get stressful and they take a lot of attention. But we definitely have to learn how to prioritize what's besides the baby, what else is important, right? We have to be able to see that there's other things about who we are than just being a dad. We have to be a husband. We have to be a good husband. And you just have to make that time. You have to find time in your life where you're going on date nights. Um, you're doing things that you enjoy with your wife, right? You have to do fun things. Um, and I know for myself, we get lost in this. Me and my wife didn't go on a vacation alone. God, I don't think it was probably 10 years after marriage. We went a 10-year anniversary. We were like, we have to go away by ourselves. We have to make that time. It's important. And I look back on it now and I wonder why we waited so long, right? Why we had to wait, or why did we wait so long to just go spend a weekend together? Um, and again, because when you want to be a good father, you want to be a good mother, you sometimes get lost in that mix, right? You're always worrying about the kids and doing the best job there. That sometimes you might not put as much effort into the relationship. So it's super important. And I know your kids are young, Zach, so you probably have definitely a little bit more insight. And
Yeah, it's definitely closer. They just the time frame of it happening. But that's a really good point, dude. And I wasn't even thinking about that when we started. These dads, I mean, myself included, most dads are so focused on being the best dad, especially the ones that we're interacting with. The dudes that are turning to Oak and Rock are searching this for a reason. They're either following somebody who shared this link and now they found their way to this video, or they searched it on YouTube and they're like, I'm trying to be a better dad. I want to learn about fatherhood, whatever it is. So they're looking to be a good dad. And that hyper focus, whether that's coming from looking to be a better father than they had, so they're just trying to improve upon it, or they had a great dad and they're trying to keep that going. They don't want to be the one to break the streak. So they have this pressure on themselves that's honestly, when it's pushing that hard, how can you even think of being a romantic man, a proper leader to your lady, because your child is taking all of your focus. And now I think it's a good point also. There's a time frame here. So when we're talking about reigniting the passion, most people are going to hear that. They're going to think, all right, when you're having sex after a kid, when you go back to the fun stuff, what's that all about? Right after the kid is not that time. So we're not talking about a 2-day-old baby. There's a time frame here that you need to apply some common sense with what we're saying. So you have a 1-month-old. You've had time to find out sleeping. You've had time to find out your patterns. You've had time to get the help that you need. You found out the equipment like bottles that worked, didn't work. You've done all that stuff, and then within that month, your woman has healed. She's back up and moving around. If she had a C-section, she's going through that healing, natural birth, all her parts are all going back together. All this stuff is coming back. And it's in that there's like a time little window where you can go back to who you were. And it's almost like you didn't miss a beat. If you do it right, when she comes back up and she starts hitting the gym, like, all right, I'm going to drop the baby weight. And you're like, yeah, babe, you go and you drop that baby weight. And I'm going to go and I'm going to bond with the kid during that time, be that involved dad. But when you get back, I have to go to the gym too. Okay. So when she comes back, you tag team it. That not only does that get you guys moving and grooving, but it gets you back to being attractive because you want to look better in your clothes. You want a tighter body, and also, and we were talking about this a little bit earlier, you need a sense of not just polarity, but mystery. If you're together that whole month and you never leave each other's side because you're the best parents in the world, you're not going to take your eyes off your kid. Your wife cannot look to you and say, how was your day? Because she knows how your day was. She cannot say what's new because she knows the answer is nothing because you've done nothing because you've stayed together the whole time. So there's nothing to talk about. There's nothing unique about you. You're just the dude who's the ever-present force that's there. And we'll get into this in a second, but you have to make your spouse a priority over that child. And that's going to be hard, especially for first-time fathers, because again, you're so focused on not screwing it up that you forget a part of not screwing it up is getting a good relationship going with that woman again. A good, healthy, passionate relationship, not just co-parenting.
Yeah. And, everything we talk about on this channel, becoming a better man, becoming a better father, and now becoming a better husband. We've had other videos in the past where we talk about creating inner peace, becoming a really good man, living with virtue and principles. Um, and I feel like, to simplify things, that is a lot of what we have to do to to get to what you're speaking about, right? Be an attractive man, prioritize, spend time with your woman, learn how to enjoy it. If you're a complete mess, right? If you're not taking care of yourself, this is not going to be easy. You're going to be stressed out. You're going to be overweight. You're going to be thinking of all the bad things that could happen, that could go wrong. And it consumes you, right? It creates a different person than who you really are before the baby. So now you're a dad, you're stressed out. Your wife might be facing, her own complications. And instead of leading, instead of being a man of good character, you get pushed down by all this doubt and uncertainty. So it is important during this process, that we do recognize we have to be strong, right? We have to work on ourselves. We have to make sure that in order to reignite that passion, we need to make sure we're keeping ourselves attractive. We're keeping ourselves in good shape. And there's so many different ways that we can do this, right? Hitting the gym, getting a haircut. um, if you don't do it, what happens? You lose that spark. And like anything, if you're not actively seeking to improve, things will get worse, right? If you're not actively going at it and trying to get better, what you're doing is regressing. So to to really build on the relationship, to really, I guess, put a sense in the home that you and your wife are proud of what you guys are building together as a family. You have to be proud of what you're building from within. And for me, that took a long time to understand and to figure out. Right, this work and just getting better. And a lot of times when I was going through that process, I was uncertain. I wasn't sure about what the correct path was. And I am very thankful that I had my wife there who was supporting me in those times, and just how I would support her. So when the when things in your relationship are going rough, or they might have been going in the direction that you want, it's good to realize that your spouse, your partner, is going to support you, is going to help you. And those are the tough times that you get past with each other. When you're not squared away, or you're not looking to work on yourself, those are the times that can easily destroy you, right? They can easily just dump the negativity and make you not want to do it anymore, make you want to give up to a degree. So
Well, I
self
think that also
improvement.
opens the door for, well, what does that look like? What does getting back into it look like? And here's the reality. We're living in a world of wino moms and dad bods. That's what they want. They want mom just scrolling Facebook about the good times she used to have before she was a mom and getting drunk, and dad's just being fat and lazy. And that's the promotion, because that they make a lot of money off of that. At the end of the
When
day,
you say
that's what it's all
they,
about.
who do you mean?
The government. And all these fucking corporations. We have a video on that too. Check it out. Scroll through our library.
No.
But it's so we that's what they're promoting. That's what they want you to do. But again, you're here. But what are you doing? What can you do? And let's not kid ourselves. When you have a new baby, you're going to be dealing with some of the worst parts of I guess attraction. Like you're going to be in some really compromised positions. You're going to see your wife passed out, racked out with a baby in her arm. She's going to walk by and you're going to have spit in your beard from that baby, and a burp cloth over here, and the kid's like just drooling all over your shirt. And that's her husband, that's her man holding that baby covered in shit. Dude, my son, he was not feeling well one time, maybe 2, 3, and I was like, "Oh, I'll hold him." I woke up in the middle of the night thinking I puked on everybody. What actually happened, my son had puked his upset stomach. He was on me. His milk and his hot dog from dinner in the middle of the night, nice and warm in his stomach, into my mouth. He puked his whole everything. He evacuated his system into me. And my wife is right next to us. And she looks up and there's just vomit me, vomit son. And my wife like, what happened? And I was like, babe, it's totally cool. I got this. I carried him and we just took a shower together, man. And it was like, we just got it taken care of. And she had to see me like that. So you see it, you're like, well, this is hard. Like, how are you supposed to be attracted to that? Dude, that's the fun of it. Like, that's the whole point. It is hard. And all you guys have, as you were saying, that hardship is what will forge you tighter. Because, and I'll tell you, here's a few things I did. I would get a candle, I would light said candle. And when my son would take a nap or he'd fall asleep, in his little swing, because we were horrible for his parents, we'd always hold him. So he'd only either sleep on us or in a swing. Horrible sleep pattern. We made so many mistakes. But he would sleep, he would have his swing next to us, and we couldn't go anywhere. So I was an E4 in the Navy. So A, we were poor. We have a new baby, new parents, and B, where the hell are we gonna go? We have a baby. So we would have our nice little dinners, our nice little takeout. We'd have like a little bit of ice cream and a candle. We would throw Bob Ross, and we do little paintings. And we would just sit at the table. Our new baby's sleeping over here. We would just paint together and just hang out. And it was just her and I and our baby. And again, we had no family around us. So it's not like we could drop the kid off and go on a date. If you can do that, and the baby's at a point where it'll sleep through the night or something, do that. Get those dates in. Get that system, rolling earlier. But if you're in a situation like I was, you have to improvise. And dude, I look back in that time, like even just now, like I'm getting like, the heart's pounding a little bit. Like you look back on that, and that's like the golden time. Like that's where you're like, man, we made it through that. Like that was so fucking cool. And we came out stronger because we made it work. We found a way. We crafted it together. We pulled it. We clawed it together. We just kept each other a priority. And if we couldn't go out or we didn't have the money or we didn't have the time, then we made it at home. And we did it during a nap. We did it while he was, if he's watching like one of his little shows or something, we would figure something out. And then in that, you bring the attraction. We go back to that. So it's like, hey, you start flirting again. And a lot of guys, they talk about chore play. Like, oh, chore play. I'm one of those guys. Like doing the dishes, get your hands wet, not your woman. Like chore play, when you have the covert contract that doing chores will get you sex, that is a negative. But I will say this, when your woman's hurting and she's exhausted from breastfeeding the baby, and then she's always taking care of the baby, and predominantly the baby's with her, you coming home and just taking care of that house, like, yeah, like it's not beneath you as a man to do the dishes, to clean things up, and to make dinner so your woman can just sit and rest. Because when you allow her to do that, that takes that weight off her head, and now she can be light again. We talk about the lightness of women, the feminine, the airy nature of them just being so bright in our lives. Well, it's hard for her to be that if she has to take care of the baby and take care of the husband. You got to take something off her plate because she also is a new parent. So that's a way to help lighten her mental load. And therefore she can start, hey, well, since I'm not worried about the dishes and cleaning anymore, what are you up to tonight? And then you start that moving and grooving.
Yeah. Yeah. And what a tremendous lesson to teach your kids about relationships, right? When you care about somebody and you want to build healthy relationships, you're not doing it through manipulation. You're not doing it on something on the other end. You're doing it because you genuinely care about somebody and you want to help them, right? You want to be able to support and provide for them. And that's, we see that with parents and their kids so many times. They're holding things over their head, right? They're doing things for them to get their kids to do something else. And it's just a destructive pattern that we fall into in the relationship. And if you're doing that with your wife, right, there's going to be resentment. There's going to be anger. There's going to be a lot of bad, negative things that are going to be flying around the home. And, sometimes you're not aware of it. Sometimes it's there and we try to avoid it. And that's why it is, it's important to get back into those routines. It's important to recognize that once the baby's born, once you establish this little family that you're building, there's other things to it than just being a dad and being a parent. You definitely want to spend as much time as you can with your wife, with your spouse, building on that. And on the flip side of that would be where you're able to do things on your own, where you're able to not always be attached to your wife the same way that you don't always want to be attached to your kids. And we touched on this before, so I don't want to go over too much, but it's super important to create a healthy relationship with yourself. Um, I say a lot and I say it often that the king eats first. and it's something that gets misunderstood. People don't understand it. But what it means is when you're building a family, you have to take care of yourself first, right? As being the man, as being the father, you have to make sure that you're strong enough to handle any burden. You're strong enough to handle any complications, anything that's thrown your way. You need to be that rock. And um, the same thing with your relationship with your spouse, with your wife. She's definitely going to be going through hard times, especially if we can convince a lot of fathers from this channel that it's super important that you raise your kids. That whether I would recommend your wife staying home raising the child. Don't send your kids to daycare. Don't send them to preschool. Don't send them out of your home to have somebody else raise them. So when you can do that, your wife is going to be exhausted, right? It's difficult to raise children, especially if you have more than one. So you have to be that rock, right? You have to be able to provide her sleep, some comfort, and some support on what it is that you're building. And going back to what we were saying before, Zach, when you go through those hard times, you definitely build that connection, right? You build trust. You have empathy for each other instead of resentment. Um, and then when your wife is like, "Hey, I want to go out with my friends," you're like, "All right, go ahead. I got the kids. I'm good. I got this." Or if you want to go out with your friends, right, or whatever, you're going away for a say an amazing weekend and with the fraternity of excellence brothers. Go ahead, babe. Do what you got to do, right? We'll be okay. Most of the time, they're okay. We run into some nightmares, but it's important, right, to have that balance. It's the same to me. It's very similar to a child where you want to when they're dependent on you, you want to raise them and full their own, and then the relationship you have with them is going to be awesome. It's going to be mutual. You guys are going to respect each other, and you're going to be able to allocate time when you want. It's the same thing with your spouse, right? You have to make sure that the time you're spending together, number one, is quality time. And that doesn't mean you always have to go do something. You know, to be honest, most of the moments I enjoy most with my wife, especially now, is just sitting outside, watching the water, watching the sunset, whatever. We don't even have to say much, right? We just enjoy each other's company, and I think that balance, that harmony, that comes from getting in all those reps that we just talked about, right? That's the sort of the end result. Not that I want to cut my life short at 44, but that is what I was striving for, right? I wanted to have that peace. I wanted to have that connection with my wife. I wanted us to be able to sit down and be like, wow, look what we've built. Um, and not and it didn't destroy us, right? It didn't separate us. All those hard things, it brought us closer together.
And in that, one of the things I see a lot of people running into, when you're talking about going out yourself, or the wife going out, or the mom going out herself, is the guilt that comes with it. I like dads will feel guilty. They're out with the guys. They'll feel guilty. Even on the FOE trips, we had these discussions. I feel guilty. I'm here because I'm doing this and I should be home with the kids. Like you said, with the king eating first, that is you giving your kids the best you can. Going out with the guys, going to the gym, going and doing something for you come back a better man. And that's the best thing you could do for that family, is being a good man, and for your wife as well. I don't know if, I mean, obviously I just gave an example of dad guilt, but I don't think I really had dad guilt. I didn't feel guilty. I just felt like I should be at home. I love my kids. I love my wife. Even when I go on FOE events, I'm like, I miss my family. Like I really enjoy their company, but I have to do it. Like that's the only reason I'm a good husband and father, is because I put the reps in. I test myself with other men. I challenge myself. I have friends. I have a network I can rely on, and it's not just constant word vomiting on my lady. And that's another thing that happens when you're just home with the baby. You just start putting everything goes on to each other, and well, how can you be attracted to a dude who just gossiped with you for 45 minutes? Like, is that a turn on? I don't think so. But the guilt that comes with it, mom guilt is a real thing. And I saw it with Jackie, and I think with both kids, guilt of, well, I should stay home with the kid, or I don't need to go out and do this. I don't need to go out and buy that for me. There were a lot of times where I would see those signs, and I knew I had to get ahead of it. And we actually recently had a call with one of our FW brothers, and we were talking about the need for moms to have their own time, the need for these moms to get out and do their thing. And a lot on Oak and Rock, we're talking about the father, and one of the things that we pride ourselves on is that we don't fall into the loop, of many other channels talking about peaceful parenting, where it's all about, let's follow the PC correct everything. Like, no, we do talk a lot about, hey, men, lead the way. You need to be strong. You need to be focused. You need to be able to say no. But there are times where you need to be the one to put yourself second. Hey, love, you go out and get some time to you. I'm fine staying with this kid. The king eating first. This isn't the king not eating or anything like that. This is the king having time with his prince or princess. Like, this is you bonding with your child in the kingdom that you are creating. This is not, oh, I'm stuck with the kid. You get to go out and have fun. If you start to take that angle, and I see that resentment building only when you always are trying to self-sacrifice, thinking that, oh, if I always let her go, eventually she'll tell me to go out with the guys. Well, no, you're just building a weird dynamic. Just say what you need. Hey, I need some time. Speak up. That resentment won't build. If it builds, it's because you allowed it to. But if you make sure you get your time out, and you make sure if your wife is showing any signs of, I feel guilty about not using cloth diapers versus throwaway diapers, breastfeeding versus bottle feeding, whatever it is, letting them cry it out. Like, there's so many things that new parents feel guilty about. If you start seeing they eat away at her, she's going to fall into a spiral. That's where you find the mom totally lost. She never finds her way back to just being a happy woman. So if you can get ahead of that, that will keep the attraction. That will keep that independent person, because that's what your wife is. She's an individual. You're an individual. You're two individuals that created life together, but you are unique people. And what you want to do is be strong as a man, have her be strong as a woman, and the two of you are strong as a couple. If she can't go out and get that time to get her hair done, her nails done, go shopping, or just fucking breathe without a kid hanging on her, she'll never feel that energy and be able to bring that to you. So it's important that we also look at the guilt that comes with this, and again, all the way back to that forging, the bond between the man and the woman. When she sees that you can handle that shit and you're there and you have her back, I could not see a situation where she would not be like, yeah, dude, go out with the guys. You busted your ass. And in that moment, you can't be the nice guy. You can't be I don't need them. Thanks, babe. I'll see you tonight. I'm going to go out. I'm going to hit whatever you guys are doing. I'll see you tonight. I look forward to it. I'll see you and Junior soon. Love you. Later. You have to go, because once you make that a habit, I don't need to go out with them. I don't need to do that with them. That is like I don't want to say the blue pill, but that is the first dose of you losing your masculinity, losing your leadership, losing your sense of frame, losing your sense of just control of who you are and where you're going in your life. From there, you just kind of glide on what you're allowed to be. It starts with little things like, I don't need to hang out with them anymore. I don't need to go out. I don't matter. And that's essentially what you're saying. You do matter. And if you want to be a good father, kids follow example. They're going to follow your example as to what a man either is for your son or what to look for in a man through your daughter. You want to set a high bar with that.
Yes, you do. And I think, what you were talking about, Zach, and a lot of things we've been talking about so far in this episode, you have to eliminate the nonsense, right? We be lying to ourselves about who we are and what we're becoming. Like the dad bod. We can't make jokes and say, it's cool, right? I'm overweight, I'm out of shape, but my wife loves
sympathy
me.
Weight.
But even what you were talking about with the guilt, we tell ourselves these stories, and we say that, our wife, we're not having sex because of the baby, or because maybe she's not attracted to me. And, these things fester and they build up. And then when we're with our friends, our conversations start to be like, oh, I can't stand my wife, right? She doesn't love me. And we fill we fill our minds with this poison. And don't think the women don't do that also, right? They do the same thing on the opposite side. But what happens is it becomes almost like our identity and who we are. And we become very spiteful, and we're just not happy with the life that we're living because we're telling ourselves that we're really a piece of shit, right? It's like the grown man who his whole life his parents told him he was a little shit. Well, guess what? He's going to grow up and he's going to think he's a piece of shit. So just to avoid that trap, right? That's why I brought it up. Just avoid that trap of being around people or telling yourself things that are not true, right? If the baby, it's up to you to take the steps to improve it. It's up to you to say, hey, how can I create this passion? How can I reignite it? How can I make my wife um, the time we spend more intimate and more connected? And how can we make it romantic? It's entirely up to you, right? I don't want to say you're in charge, but it is your life. You're in control. And if you continually tell yourself that things aren't going to get better, that things aren't good, that I'm just a mess, that she doesn't love me anymore, guess what, man? You're going to slowly shape that reality and you're going to show your kids so much toxic shame and guilt. And that's going to trickle down to them too. They're going to they're going to see your examples, and it's just something we have to be aware of. It's something you have to look out for, and you have to know that you slowly take the steps to get better and to change your mindset and to change how you guys interact with each other. I say this all the time about parenting. Every interaction that you have with your kids should be with love, connection, peace. It should be with respect. It should be assertive. You should be saying what you mean. It should be raw and honest. And it doesn't mean it goes right all the time, who you are. And that is the person you want to get back to after the baby's born, right? Who you and your wife were before. You don't want to create this false narrative of slowly eroding into some dysfunctional, distasteful and unfulfilling relationship. You always want to keep building.
Oh yeah, I mean, your life is the result of your priorities. Like that's what your life becomes. The choices you make are based off the priorities that you have as to what's most important, and that gets you to where you are. Dude, I prioritize the fuck out of my wife. Like that's my lady. She's not a co-parent. She's not a roommate. That's my wife. You say wife, queen, lover, whatever you want to say. That's my lady. And this is something that has rubbed a few men the wrong way. But I believe that she has a higher priority over the children. I think it goes wife, then kids when it comes to my ranking of my priorities and commitments. And it's in no way, I mean, obviously, look at it's Oak and Rock Fatherhood. In no way am I diminishing my role or duty to these children. I have put in the reps and time for that to be clearly understood. But if I can't maintain a healthy relationship with my spouse, how can I create an environment that's conducive to raising a son and daughter in a manner that's going to allow them to go into the world and flourish? They need to see how connections are maintained. They need to see how boundaries are maintained. How do adults handle disagreement? How do adults show love? How do adults take care of each other? What do they do? We had I don't remember which guest it was. We've had all these people coming on and dropping their wisdom, but somebody came in and they were talking about how, when somebody's sick, you don't have to be asked. You just show up and you help make food and you step up and you fill their duties and you take care of them. That's a way to show love, and if you're not doing that with your spouse because you've forgotten about her because you're so focused on being a great dad, well, guess what? You've done your child a great disservice and your home is broken. Your woman will resent you because you have now, you've stripped her of what this whole marriage was supposed to be. She didn't marry you just to be a mom and then be left alone with that mom, a single mom that's married. No, she married you to be married to the man who was doing what you were doing before the marriage. Before the kid, you were a man on a certain path and she saw that. And she's like, man, this guy has potential. I would love to, and then whatever she saw in you, you got together, you had your kid, you stay that man. We can't stress that. I mean, I don't know if we can stress it enough. We've said it like 10 times already. You have to be doing the things where, hey, I'm sitting here wearing a sweater and I'm not wearing, a Homer Simpson. You've lost your sleeves, but it's because you're jacked going to the gym. We do these things. It's just the nature of the beast. And I try to use
I only have tank tops.
Yeah, well, I don't think I've ever seen you wear sleeves. But it's the thing, dude. Like we're not sitting here completely disheveled. Homes a wreck, finances a wreck, health a wreck, mindsets a wreck. No, we're squared the fuck away because we're doing the work. And that's why our ladies are attracted to us. And that's why our homes work. If we didn't do that work, dude, it's really easy to not do the work. And I'm not even going to knock the guys who don't. Like, it's the whole world wants you to just sit and be comfortable. This goes back to what I was saying earlier. They want you relaxed. They want you numb. They want you sedentary. I want strong fathers. You want strong fathers. It's oak and rock. You know, we have this whole thing going on dad Twitter where all these dudes, we're not talking about NFL and craft beer and happy wife, happy life. We're talking about how do I square myself away, make myself mentally, physically, spiritually strong? How do I lead a family, connect with a wife, show my children what a healthy relationship is so they're not ever taken advantage of? They know what to expect from a spouse. They know what to look for, what qualities are in a person who will be complementary to you in your life path. You know, that you show them the raw and real picture so they don't get this weird, you know, my parents are perfect. They never fought. My parents are perfect. They never had an argument. Everything was perfect. They never had an issue ever in their life. No, you show them together. Hey, your mother and I, we prioritize each other. We make each other a priority in our lives. We go out, we do our things. And when we have disagreements, we share that with you. Hey, here's how we handled this. You know, it'll obviously age appropriate again, as always. But you share like, yeah, you know, here's how we handled this, here's how we settled that, whatever. And the kids say, oh, cool. That's how you handle that. But dude, if you forget about your wife, if you don't make her a priority, she's just gonna just wither away. She's gonna lose everything that made her great and made her what she was supposed to be the entire time. Your wife. There is a privilege that comes with that title. You don't say, I'm the king and I'm the leader. You know, she's just here. Bro, she's the one who brought that child into the world. She's the one that's helping you run the fucking kingdom. Give her the respect that is due to that by making her a priority over those kids. You're going to fuck the kid up. It's like hugging the puppy too tight. You're going to suffocate it. You need to love your wife and raise the children together, not focus everything you have on that kid, because then you forget about yourself, your spouse, and it just all turns to shit.
Yeah, man, it is such an important lesson. If you think about the whole dynamic of it, what we're doing ultimately, like by showing our kids how much we love their mother, what we're doing is we're setting the stage. If you have a daughter, of what type of man, right, she should be choosing, who's somebody who's going to love her, somebody who's going to support her, and the same thing with our sons, right? We're showing our sons what it means to be a man. What do men do? Right? How do they provide for their family? How do they treat the people they love the most? And to me, that is one of the biggest lessons in this whole discussion is good relationships, healthy relationships. We set that example. We show our kids how we love their mother, what love is supposed to look like when two people love each other, how they interact. Like you said, Zach, they can have fights and conflict, but it doesn't matter, right? It's how we get past those hurdles, those obstacles. And ultimately, it's how we grow stronger together in those times. This is what it's about. This is what Oak and Rocket Fatherhood is about. And, this is what we're doing here. So if you love the content, hit like, subscribe, hit the subscribe button. And this has been another episode of Oak and Rock Fatherhood.